Once again, there has been a very strange claim made by a so-called hiker. However, this time round, it does in fact link to a very eerie encounter with what Scott Nuttall faced when searching for Kenny Veach and M-Cave some months ago. What's really going on in the background, and who is watching? When it comes to being outside, you can be exposed to all kinds of elements, factors, and people. However, there is nothing worse than the feeling of being watched from a distance, if not being followed by an unknown person, especially when you're out in such a desolate, remote environment where you wouldn't expect to meet anyone. It'll be the last thing on your mind. So when you do encounter it, or when you're looking back at recorded footage, it can send chills down your spine. And that was the case for a fellow hiker known as Scott Nuttall. Some months ago, a 2025 was hiking the area where Kenny Veach went missing, but this time round checking out alternative canyons, the one that Really Robin did as of 2020 and Jeff Clark in 2022. SB Vega's adventures had recently been in the area as well. So over time, there's been small levels of activity, but hardly ever has a hiker encountered a fellow hiker or an unknown person. Yet when Scott Nuttall was in the mountains up one of the canyons panning around, he said he felt he could hear voices, and as he rotated, he captured something rather creepy on camera, which he wasn't aware of.
It's real quiet right here for some reason. And then I thought I heard somebody talking. Might have been the wind blowing through the caves. And then I thought I heard somebody talking.
Beside that creepy looking figure caught on camera and the timing of Scott Nuttall referring to hearing a voice, what's more important is why we're here today, and that's because of a strange link by the so-called Really Robin. This is what was recently said in a comment on YouTube. One of his viewers incoherently said the hiker was Scott Nuttall and his video was called Big M Cave Up on the Hill Walk the Path of Kenny Veach. Last video part 1. At 38 minutes and 47 seconds of the video, it shows that cave in entrance, which probably should to bring to the mineshaft inside or something. Robin replied and said, "I know that guy. I've been watching him on YouTube, and one time I even met him on a trail, but not personally. I've been watching him from a distance, from the binoculars from above. I have to check his videos again to look up if that's the entrance you're referring to." Now, I don't know if you've picked up on it already, but it appears that what Really Robin is referring to as of a specific event in which one time he was out there on a trail and watching from a distance with binoculars. It just so happens to link to the hike that Scott Nuttall did some months ago from the looks of it. Just like how Really Robin has made previous claims and references to other events which were either caught on camera or documented by someone elsewhere online, like SB Vega's adventures and that bullet casing being found and supposed gunshots being fired at a previous point. It's as if Really Robin is chaining events together, whether it directly involves him or someone else, but tends to be vague because he doesn't always give a source as to what video, what material, or which hiker. However, I pick up on these patterns and once again spreading awareness so you know what Robin is referring to. You could ask yourself, why would Robin be so interested in Scott Nuttall? As good of a hiker Scott is, he doesn't always make things clear. There's other hikers out there like Jeff Clark that's very doubtful and skeptical of Scott, and even with the sword and tent finding. what's going to happen next? Is really Robin going to say, that was my tent and sword, and I was hiking out there one time and I was waiting and camping for someone? You never know where it will end. It could go on and on. And whilst most of the time you can say, well, it's fake and it's done to gain some kind of attention, awareness is needed to highlight the BS. But on this one occasion, there is a creepy unknown mystery, because when Scott Nuttall was out there, he did in fact capture something on camera and also claimed to have heard voices. So based on the timing and the coincidence of that, yes, you could say it opens it up more for this so-called Robin to claim fame and responsibility to it. If you take Robin out of the picture, there is still something going on out there. And due to the location of where Scott was at, fast forward onwards some months later, and SB Vegas was heading up that way. So what you see on screen 4 months ago, M Cave in the foothills, front of Sheep Mountains, Kenny Veach, is he out there? Part 2 and part 1 below. So when Scott is referring to Sheep Mountains, the front, where exactly is he referring to? Basically, the hike route, an area which really Robin and Jeff clouded, those canyons on the other side of Joe May Gusler. That on the ground level, the flat land, is where you'd be coming back from the hike loop route and passing by those said canyons. That's where Scott Nuttall was searching about. And whilst out there panning the camera, there did appear to be something on the mountains or hills standing quite still. And it's just strange to say that Robin was this, that he was present with binoculars out in the open. What would you gain from observing from another hiker? I mean, Jeff Clark could make the argument and say this fake Robin could have been hired by someone in the background to do surveillance and work and monitor people when heading out. But there are people being hired, rogue hikers, etc. Were they ever utilised at the time of Kenny's disappearance? Some kind of reconnaissance, watching, stalking, not getting too close, but just monitoring what happens next. And if you make the wrong move, maybe they will take action. You never know, it opens up all kinds of mysteries and possibilities. And when you change the colour tone and you look closer, it's just eerie. It stands out from everything else about. It's not thin or narrow. It's not exactly tall. Whether it's standing or crouching, it just looked like some kind of figure. Some has suggested that it was cloaked or covered with some material, a person, for example. But as to who it would be, from military to government to border, DNWR, a rogue hiker, who knows? But would they be out there in plain sight in the open, just stood like that? Nevertheless, Scott Nuttall didn't make any reference to it. So you could say, well, maybe Scott looked over that way and thought nothing of it because it was nothing. Or maybe Scott was just distracted and looking elsewhere. See, sometimes things that are obvious or stand out can be caught on camera unknown to the hiker who's out there at the time because they're focused on prioritising their health, their safety, their resources, and trying to record the general area and be conscious of time. That when you've got a lot of responsibilities and things to do, you will neglect and forget certain senses. Your peripheral vision may not be quite there the same as it normally is. And that's why when it's all caught on camera, it enables the viewers that can sit back and monitor the footage, and who knows what can be picked up on. And this is an example of that. For Scott Nuttall to say he heard voices out there at the same time of when panning over that way, with the voices coming from that strange object, that strange looking person, was there more than one individual? It makes you think. I want to know your thoughts though down below in the comments section. What Robin is claiming, the so-called fake one, that he was out there monitoring Scott Nuttall with binoculars. Do you really think that really Robin was this thing on screen captured on camera? To me, I would say no. That Robin is lying once again and just simply doing it to try and have some relevance to this case community. However, it doesn't take away from the mystery creepy finding caught on camera by Scott Nuttall. You never know. Like with phantom footsteps and other hikers being out there hearing voices to just footsteps. Besides unknown beings and animals, there could well be some surveillance out there and not just cameras, but people. It depends of what interest it is to those unknown entities out there and why they're doing it. If there's a strong enough motive, then they will follow through. But what does it ultimately lead to? Is there any direct action? Does it have any indirect links to the mineshaft being filled in and covered up? Who knows? The possibilities are out there, and you can share your thoughts below. And you let me know, do you think that this was a figure caught on camera by Scott Nuttall, or is it simply a tree or vegetation? The colouring of it, especially when you look at it mostly unedited, from a distance without zooming in, it does look like a person stood there. And there was always that, suggestion, like with Sean Hawlecker when he was scanning and scouting the area, wondering if there was anyone peering, lurking over the edges, the ridges of mountain tops. Could it be Kenny Veach himself, another strange unknown person? And finally, an example, a rough one, has been demonstrated by Scott, and the area it was captured in, not too far from where Kenny Veach was hiking, just on the other side of the mountains. So whether this links to Kenny Veach or another unknown person, there's definitely a mysterious presence about. And beside that, when it came to Scott Nuttall getting higher into the mountains, at some point, he didn't give the coordinates, but he came across some rope, a hook, where someone could be abseiling, climbing up or down from mountains and rocks. But who and why would anyone be doing that when it's such a desolate, remote place? Whoever that was previously here, were they searching for Kenny M Cave? Or were they just simply exploring? It does make you think. But what's more important is that months later, you had SB Vega's Adventures from this point of view on screen that captured it too. What you see there is basically what Scott Nuttall captured, I believe. I mean, it shares the same colouring. From that angle, it does appear a bit longer in length. But it just seems to possibly link, You've got the rock underneath, as you can see, and that matches with Scott Nuttall's rock there. The length of it does seem significantly shorter, where he's holding, is it the carabiner hook? There, in his hand. Actual length of the rope isn't, and it's knotted as well. What you see there, the carabiner hook's down there, and the length of it is a lot longer. Unless Scott was only holding part of it, or he ended up pulling it out afterwards, it seems to have got longer in length. But beside that odd difference, it appears to be the same location. Now I wonder, was SB Vega's Adventures aware that Scott Nuttall and Jeff Clark, that Scott was once here some months ago? Because not many people have seen Scott's video, so I thought I'd do that as awareness. Moving on to this one, from a different angle and a different spot. It's like very narrow here, and when looking up, you've got boulders of loose rocks piled up and the gaps, and there's like some rope again with a carabiner hook dangling from there in a very weird, odd place. Why is it there exactly? Where's it actually going? Unusual. But the similarity is Scott Nuttall captured it too. This is from Scott's point of view. You can see that rope back there, the carabiner hook. You can see the narrowness of it. You can see these boulders stacked and wedged in between this gap, just like how you can see one of them there. Whilst the colouring may look a bit different and the quality, this is of the same spot. It's just interesting that Scott Nuttall didn't communicate with SB or Jeff or mention much awareness about it, because when you do have hikers going out there, it's good to have some kind of communication so you know what's been checked, what hasn't, did people make it back safe, yes or no. It's just being a community online, it just connects people closer. But when you do get independent people hiking out there, do they have alternative motives? I wonder. All in all, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Be sure to hit the thumbs up, the like button, share the video for that awareness. And once again, just to reiterate so no one misunderstands it, really Robin, the so-called reincarnation, appears to be a fake and claiming responsibility for everything out there. It's not likely, there's no real hard evidence of it, but there is a form of material and evidence to suggest that Scott Nuttall, under different circumstances with the presence of an unknown thing out there, wasn't alone. And like with Kenny Veach, I don't think Kenny Veach was alone out there at some point, like in his recorded October hike. Did that apply to when he went back out there in November? Who knows? But hopefully this video helps in some way. I didn't get to say at the start because the intro was different, but if you want to check out my previous videos for additional context and backstories, you can find the full playlist on the Kenny Veach case, top right corner where the eye symbol is up there. And if you want to support the channel, there's a PayPal link and channel membership down below in the comment section pinned message. With that all being said, my name is Ref. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night for now.